Treuheit to you.
Good Shepherd Sisters all over the world, an international congregation. They invite every year for young sisters to come, or even older sisters, to come and experience what our sisters are doing at the United Nations, because we have an NGO office that has consultative status with the United Nations. That means that we as Good Shepherd Sisters can give our stories of the grassroots, of the women in our missions, to our office at the United Nations, and then they prepare statements and give feedback to the bigger NGO group, so as we can have an influence in the systems and structures that the United Nations prepare. So it's very important to be able to know how the United Nations work, and more important, how the Good Shepherds work at the United Nations. So I applied, and I was accepted to go for 6 months to see how our sisters influence the United Nations and their systems and structures. So I had a very good experience of following in the footsteps of the Good Shepherd at the United Nations, and to see how our sisters operate, network, build relationships, and bring the stories of the very poor and marginalized women and girls to the forefront of the United Nations. Once you enter the grounds of the United Nations, you are on international grounds, meaning another country. So you need to have a pass, identity, otherwise you cannot enter. And we have the flag of the United Nations that belongs to everybody, the whole world, all 192 countries. Because in the Charter of the United Nations, the first sentence says, "We, the people of the United Nations." And so the United Nations belongs to all of us. And that was something new that I learned as a Good Shepherd sister, that my voice, my experience has meaning at the United Nations. But it only has meaning if I respond to our NGO office, our Good Shepherd sisters, and they take it to the United Nations. So networking is very important. So during my experiences, I learned that our sisters work with human trafficking of women and girls and other persons. They belong to a group that says, "Stop violence against women." They also work with HIV and AIDS. There's a special commission that works with the status of women, especially. And there I met thousands of women all over the world. And this is just a small picture of the diverse women that I met there. They also work with a committee on the needs of girls. We call it the girl child. And try to focus on their needs. And with all of that, because we know as Good Shepherd sisters, we try to give each woman and each girl dignity and respect. We also have what we call Handcrafting Justice. It's a group where the women in our projects prepare different crafts and they send it to America, where they try to sell it in America so that they can have a fair and just wage. We have a huge shop where we have handcrafting justice items, and our sisters in this project go from church to church, parish to parish, to promote the work of the women and say, we are selling these items for the women in our various projects to help them, to help their families, to build and to grow and to sustain themselves. Then very important, at the United Nations, I learned you must have a business card because it's all about networking. When you meet someone, you offer your card and you receive a card so that you can keep contact. So that's something that I've learned that I hope to continue in South Africa when I start my work. My favorite food is pickled fish. Fish made into a curry sauce with a lot of onions, but very strong. And you don't heat it, you eat it cold, because if you heat it, it's even more strong. We call it pickled fish. Yeah, that's my favorite. The dish comes from, we normally have it on Good Friday, because it's very sour. So we associate it with Good Friday when Jesus was hanging on the cross, and they gave him a sour wine, and it was very, very sour, very bitter. So it just this kind of solidarity with the moment of crucifixion, and just have bread and the fish. That's all.